This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 807 for the week of Monday, February 26, 2024. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And on today's show, we have special guest. He is an Eisner Award nominated author of Mermin, Dragon Racer. I should look these up. I'm doing them off the top of my head. Ghost Hog, Dragon Racer, Mermin, colorist, writes, author for things. Joey Weiser's with us. How's it going, Joey?
Yeah, you got it. You got it right.
Yay.
Yeah, thanks.
Then I effed it up.
Just believe in yourself.
No, never. We also have a special guest with us here today. It's been a while. You may know him from Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go. We have Bryan Newton joining us. How's it going, Bryan?
It's been a while, but I hold my head up high. It's been a while.
I get it. Today on the podcast, we're going to go through I'm very excited to talk about this one. I'm excited every week, but I'm extra excited this week. Chapter 1108, which is just called Come In World. And we'll see if anyone's listening on the other end. Two little pieces of news before we start in the One Piece world. First, the very first clips of Gear 5 Luffy in the dub have come out, so they are getting close. That's only like 20 episodes back, I think, at this point, or something like that. Did anyone have a chance to hear and any thoughts or any strong opinions?
It's good. I was wondering, almost felt like Kaido had like the same yell over and over again. I was almost wondering is that just him recording more of the same yell, or did they just use the one yell and over again? Because I think if they did just use the same one over and over again, it would be really funny.
I think I think it'd be super funny if for like the Gear 5 segments they use the Tom yell from Tom and Jerry for Kaido.
Agreed.
But like rewatching it goes to show, and I'm like, I don't think the Toei database of sound effects was. I don't know if they dug deep enough or they didn't have enough wacky enough sounds, because they'd be like, all right, then this is when Luffy grabs Kaido, and it's like the same like sound effect they used like when he was like throwing him, and I'm like,
I did notice it more, maybe because of the dub I could understand and I don't have to read things, although there's not a lot of dialogue anyway. But yeah, I did notice that more. Yeah, I'm excited to see more of that, because that IGN, I think, had like a whole One Piece event thing, and I haven't seen it yet, but it exists. It's out there. The other piece of news that our guest last week posted, actually, Randy Troy, mentioned that the Writers Guild Award nominees includes the first episode of One Piece, the live-action series One Piece, the Romance Dawn episode, which Matt Owens and Stephen Maeda, who was on our show a few months back, they are nominated in that category. The category is, by the way, Children's Episodic Long Form and Specials. That part I'm still a little confused about, since I believe in that episode Zoro cuts a dude in half. No spoilers here, but it just seems like an odd choice for children's episode.
Americans have very awkward standards about what's considered children's television. Violence, okay. Sex or anything about that, nah.
Bryan speaking truth to everyone who already knew that.
Bryan's speaking directly from experience here.
I'm trying to see what else was nominated in that category.
It was I don't know if they say do they say the series? They don't say the series. They just no, they do. There it is. Goosebumps, American Born Chinese.
Classic.
Sweet Tooth and Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Yeah, those.
Oh yeah, Sweet Tooth is almost like a horror story.
Yeah. I haven't seen Sweet Tooth.
Starring
maybe it's like skewing YA kind of stuff, like teen stuff is maybe where the One Piece
to be fair,
falls in.
Yeah, I would say it would be like teen, young adult. I think that totally fits.
So maybe that
series
stays in that category, so it's like differentiating it from like True Detective or something. You know what I mean?
To be fair, and I know all the teenagers listening out there are going to really enjoy this, but all teenagers are children. I say that because we're allowed to, because this is the old man podcast version of the One Piece podcast here today. Steve is our youngest member in their 30s.
Don't even.
I'm not going to say the name, the number. I was just going to say the... Anyway, before we get into the manga, I want to remind everyone, please check us out at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Lots of cool stuff, alternate images, alternate titles. We now have extended episodes, which includes our extremely witty banter between segments, particularly the segment where we decide the episode image, which is always fun. It is. Sometimes it's just painful because we can't come to a decision. So check that out. Ad-free, uncut, I guess I'll call it, because we don't cut that part out, at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. With that out of the way, let's get straight into the manga.
All right.
Let's do it.
This is the manga recap for chapter 1108. Come in, world. You can read this chapter and all chapters if you could hear the message at shonenjump.viz.com or mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp. Ed, before we even get into the chapter or the color spread, what's going on the front page of Shonen Jump?
This is a Gear 5 Luffy cover of Shonen Jump with a very sort of it's got this like blurry kind of style. It's got these cool speed lines and the fist coming at the reader. Luffy's punching the reader.
Yeah, point of view, you are Saturn.
Exactly. But I like his sinister eyebrows in this form.
I think we talked about it during the anime's version of Gear 5, but it's this like very interesting combination of extremely goofy and extremely sinister, I think, simultaneously, which is fun. Yeah,
it's like Judge Doom in Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's got those really sinister toon eyes.
Yeah, and yet
he has back when Luffy killed your brother. He looked just like this.
Just like this.
And yet he's got these sweet rosy cheeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oda's really into the rosy cheeks. I feel like every color, anything he does, there's rosy cheeks involved.
Yeah, he's gotten really in-depth with the shading, and a thing I really love about Gear 5 is the kind of blues and purples that he throws into the shading on the white parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of like interesting variation of tones in the shadows on his skin as well.
Well, it gives a lot of like also pastel, which is like more muted than you'd expect, but because it forms so much negative space, it lets like the rosy cheeks and everything else kind of like really hit you, or to use a phrase.
Any other thoughts on the cover? Otherwise, Ed, what's going on the color spread?
Sure. This color spread is the cover of the 2024 One Piece Vanity Fair Hollywood issue. Look at them. They're the women of One Piece are carrying on, drinking champagne on a couch with adorable dogs and more pictures of dogs on the wall there. And
so these are schnauzers, right? I mean, let's get the dog stuff out of the way here.
Sure.
That's what people care about. No,
those are schnauzers? I thought those were Yorkies.
Are they Yorkies? They might be Yorkies.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they're not Yorkies in the photos. They're different dogs.
Yeah,
up
there's
there.
a Dalmatian and a Saluki and a Bulldog, it looks like.
You're right. They're Yorkies. I'm ashamed. My dog credentials have gone straight out the window.
I'm sitting on a tremendous settee there. It's a gold and like with the upholstery, and it's very decadent.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's definitely the cover of a magazine.
Yeah. Like an outtake, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like after the photo shoot. They've had a little too much of that pink wine.
No, this is the
rosé.
green room. Yeah, this is the green room before the shoot.
Yeah.
Reiju,
and we should mention this is to commemorate the second volume of the heroines novels that are collections, I think, of the stories that are in the magazines, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. By the way, I love their art style. Whoever does the art for those is like particularly beautiful.
That would explain the selection of characters then in this. Because,
Yes.
Yeah,
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is an odd assortment.
Complaining that your favorites aren't in here. There's your answer.
most of mine
Tashigi's there. Tashigi's there. Who else is there?
Tashigi
that's
is
mine.
Ichi's favorite.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, do you remember? Remember
Here
like
playing
Tashigi's
Reiju, this
illustration in those magazines? It's such a good look.
it is.
Wish
It
was
is.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I like her parka.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I will just want to point out my favorite dog is the portrait of the one in the hat. Maybe a bulldog, but yeah. With
Oh, the flat
tongue
cap,
sticking
yeah.
out. Yeah, that one's so good.
Mine is a tie between the one in the top hat in the corner and the one with sunglasses, because I think sunglasses on a dog is always a good look.
I like the Dalmatian.
Yeah.
All Yorkies kind of look like
Tracksuit.
Brindley.
There's not a bad dog in the scene here.
Oh no.
No.
Reiju's being a little
speaking-
bad.
Yeah.
A little handsy.
All
Yeah.
over. Draped over like a bear rug.
She's
Yeah.
she's had maybe
This
one too
has-
many glasses of poison.
Well, that's
gonna
one
say.
one thing I love about this cover is like you can tell the rate of intoxication based on what's the liquid in their glasses and who can handle their liquor the best.
That's true.
A nice
Not me.
rosé.
Well, we don't know if
Nice.
it's
Yeah,
not.
this has-
It
yeah,
could be
it does.
Jeffrey juice. We don't know that.
Sure.
No, but
Smoothie isn't there, though.
Smoothie's not here. Yeah, so it's doubtful
Could be,
unless
could
they
be
cater.
high C pink lemonade from Arby's or something. Yeah.
Everclear in it.
Yeah.
I,
It all matches their personality too. Like even the way like Tashigi's sitting versus like Nami and Uta.
well,
fucking
Nami's doing her thing here. She's I think flirting is the word.
They just have
And Reiju is doing it in a much more less subtle way.
tongue sticking out.
Yeah. And Boa Hancock's doing her Regina George.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah,
precisely.
she's got her stuff together there. Yeah. I
Even
think Oda
Robin
knocked
looks
this
a
one out of the
little.
park.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. I do want to say in
excellent.
addition, seeing the sketches when they come out on Twitter or Instagram, the couch you guys mentioned, like it didn't look like the assistants did any of that kind of stuff, which blows me out of the water here because it's really cool and intricate and like textured. It looks great. I think.
That brings up a really good question. Like, I never heard this addressed, but I always had the impression that the assistants didn't do anything with the color pages, but I don't know that for sure.
That wouldn't surprise me because the color pages usually have his consistent style.
Agreed. Although his consistent style has been changing over time. But yes.
Sure.
Yeah, no. Agreed. And even the font, love everything, classy as hell. Vanity Fair Hollywood edition, yes. Love it. If there's no other thoughts, Ed.
Okay. So back on the coast of Egghead, the Marines are yelling. They're all yelling. There's explosions going on. But back on the in the forest of Egghead, you hear, wait, don't shoot. Who is this guy? Who is this fucking guy? Anyway, that's what here at Caribou. You got it right. Just hold your fire, please. He's a pirate, it's true. This is a government island, and there are many who threaten the Commodore's life. No, sir, not me. Please, you gotta trust me. If you kill me now, Master Teacher's gonna split your skulls.
They should have shot him. Brian.
Yeah.
So we come back to Angle and Von Ogre. He's like, fascinating. And why is that? And then Caribou continues, because I got very valuable information. You wouldn't hear from anyone else. And then we go to, I guess, his internal monologue, where he goes, that one of the ancient weapons name goes after the god Poseidon, refers to the power of Shirahoshi, princess of Fishman Island. And that another one, Pluton, slumbers beneath the land of Watto. The only people in the entire world who knows both of these facts are the Straw Hat crew and little me. If you just let, and then it goes back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. If you just let me meet with Master Teach, I'll happily provide that information to him. I'm sure he'll be very pleased to hear it. So take me with you. I know it'll be worth your time. And then we cut back to the shores of Egghead. That's Marine ships and the island lit aflame, with, I guess, Marines calling on the comms. Pull back from the shore. Don't try to fight back against the pacifistas. And we see a shot of like one of the pacifistas using its bubble shield, which I still love this thing.
Yeah.
Deflecting a.
I love how they translate that the sound effect though, "bwom," which is the noise from Sonic 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. The bubble shield.
Yeah, the bubble shield.
Yeah, that's a good call. And now the fucking was it like the low rank Marines are freaking out because like, no, the bubble shield. Why are we the ones who have to reckon with the power of the Navy scientists, the Navy Special Science Group? And we get a cool shot of a pacifista underlit as it's charged its laser and pew, and it blasts the side of a Marine battleship.
Oh, it's me. And then, God, I should have probably prepared voices for these people because you know how good I am at doing voices, Steve. Sorry. Then we have introductions and reintroductions of vice admirals, and interruptions are fine here because I do want to talk about some of these names. First, we have Bluegrass, who we've seen before. It's the one who rides on things and people, saying, there's nothing we could do here. Destroying them only sets the Navy back. What do we do? Let them sink us? And she looks perturbed. And then we go to the pretty boy, I think. Vice Admiral Hound, noticing the theme beginning here and then cutting off and then going back again. Is it possible to cancel the buster call? I don't think it's ever been done before. This person obviously thinking that if your buster call either fails or succeeds, you can't stop in the middle. And here's Vice Admiral Guillotine, which makes sense since he does have a giant knife stuck to the top of his head. I don't know specifically the weapon there. Saying Vegapunk was the one who gave the pirates power over the pacifistas, wasn't it? There's no way we could call it off now. He's completely turned traitor against the government. He's guilty of treason, like most traitors are. Not all. Our first course of action is to get the pacifistas under control. And then we have Doberman, who we've seen before during the last buster call. There's been so many, it's hard to keep track.
He was at Ennie's Lobby. That's where we met him.
Yeah, which I guess
he told the story of young Rob Lucci.
Ah, yes.
Got the nice retro font, video game font.
Yeah,
name there.
I want to talk about the fonts in that I hate the fonts. That's all I have to say. And Doberman saying, take out the pirate Jewelry Bonnie. All Vice Admirals, leave your posts and eliminate Jewelry Bonnie. And meanwhile, he's also talking about Rob Lucci and how much he loves him. And we have a handy little map, which we have actually not gotten a ton of recently, showing the island from above, which looks like a nice fruitcake or something. Or not, you know what I mean. I not like the fruitcake people get at Christmas, but the other one. Saying
the one that they get at Christmas in Japan, though. They actually do get the strawberries on Christmas cake.
That's what I mean. Like that. Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Christmas Cake Island.
That's what it should have been called. She's fleeing the Fabrio phase and apparently heading toward what looks like a gigantic ship, which I assume, if the silhouettes are to be believed, would be the giant ship. So she's heading from the center to the northeast coast. And here comes Vice Admiral Forearms. We'll find out his actual name soon.
I love this little panel of him just booking it. It's such a good ride.
Look at his teensy little legs, though.
He's very top heavy.
Yeah.
Very heavy arms.
Very Bluto.
Yeah. Tiny Legs Tosa is what we're going to call him. As he introduces himself here, this is the guy with the big beard who was doing like a weird face when we saw him last. And he says, copy that. I've got the target's rear position, executing now. Very by the books Vice Admiral here, as he says, these claws were made for scratching. And he says that each one of them is one of the finger pistols that will chew through any armor. And if there's anything we've learned is that finger pistols at this point are something we shouldn't really be all that afraid of.
I mean, he's doing the exact same move that Jabra did, except it's hockey infused.
And Lucci too, right? Like kind of like that.
Yeah.
That
was his claim.
Anyway, it's called a Tosa bite. And as he is about to get Bonnie, who is resting atop a floating Frankie, we see a shadow come down and an axe splat the Vice Admiral. We get more Vice Admiral names later, right? So we could hold off on the Vice Admiral.
Did he hit him with the broadside of the axe?
More.
Yeah.
I think he just smushed him.
He spanked him. Yeah.
When I first saw this panel, I thought he split him in half. And I was
Me too.
sad.
Yeah. But he splats
From his
him.
heads down to his toeses.
Okay. Alex.
So Bonnie has a very surprised and scared reaction to this. She screams at the top of her lungs. And Frankie notes that those are giants, and he asks what they're doing on the island. New enemies, we're already in a hurry. And echoing throughout the landscape is, "Gaba ba ba ba! Who are you?" And it's Brogy and Dory, as we saw a few chapters ago. The flat side of Brogy's axe is indeed what hit Tosa, as he is now nailed into the ground a la Looney Tunes.
That's how that works.
And Brogy mentions that we brushed up on the new members through their bounty posters, but I don't see any of them. Are you all researchers here? And we see every Atlas, who's carrying Kuma, and Frankie, who is carrying Bonnie, are both sort of floating towards them. And there's Dory as well, who says, "We've come for the Straw Hat crew." Frankie says, "Ow! Luffy's my captain. What beef you got with him?" Brogy says, "No beef, only gratitude." Dory says, "We are warriors of Elbaf. We'll happily protect any of their friends." And Bonnie mentions that Luffy and Sanji and Vegapunk are still in the middle of the island. She says, "Will you help them?" And I love that we get these we get just the scale of the giants' faces as opposed to Bonnie's full size.
It's also funny. This is a panel's remnants of when Nami and Usopp first met Dory and Little Garden.
Yeah.
It's almost the exact same panel.
Yep, exactly. Brogy says, "Those are some familiar names. Of course we will." And Dory mentions, Vegapunk. It's the man that Scholar mentioned. Take them to the ship. And they entrust some other giants with carrying Bonnie and Frankie and Kuma, who Kuma is much larger. Kuma's much larger than everybody else, as we can see.
Except for
Atlas is pretty large too, yeah, but she's flying. So
yeah, but it's funny because this giant who's carrying Kuma makes it look like Kuma's sort of like an infant.
Yeah, that's about the size. That's correct. Yeah.
So the Vikings say, "Sure thing, captains," and Bonnie and Frankie are there. Frankie says, "So they're on our side. Are those the masters Usopp's always talking about?" And they mention, "Sorry, the flames are already spreading." I love the design of this giant here.
He's great.
I mentioned this last time, but I'm really looking forward to seeing all the cool designs when we hit Elbaf.
Yeah, this guy's definitely drunk.
Alex, the guy in the corner there left. Yeah, it looks like a caricature, from one of those Hollywood restaurants of some
a Liechtenstein or something. Not a Liechtenstein. What's
yeah.
Is it Frank Gershon? He's the
no. It starts with an L. I think. Whichever. It looks like an old caricature.
Looks like he would be on the cover of the New Yorker,
right? Or on Mount Lushmore, right? That's the what we're thinking. Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Joey.
Oh, just this is my favorite. This panel that we're looking at the end of this spread is my favorite panel of the chapter. It's so fun, and I just really love the scale that it conveys and how fun the giants are. I'm really excited.
I love how all this stuff with the giants, which is so mind-blowing to see them again and see them interact with these characters. It's just a thing that happens in the middle of the chapter, like kind of blasé almost. But I'm glad Alex is here to bring it to life.
So are we thinking that they're talking about a certain Jaguar D scholar?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that his full name? I thought
Jaguar
it was
D
something else.
scholar.
Yeah.
That's his name. He's gone into hiding.
Check
He thought it would
check
help.
out D's citations. Yeah.
Someday I'm going to be a great scholar.
Joey, you're up.
All right, so on the next page, we get a few more Vice Admirals. First of all, Vice Admiral Urban, who looks... I don't know if we've seen him in scale with any other characters yet, but he kind of looks like an Ors. Yeah.
But he doesn't look... There's a guy right behind him, so I'm assuming he's relatively... One Piece normal sized. Yeah, I don't know how to... Yeah.
But he's commenting that the lines are down. And then here we see formerly known as Vice Admiral Otterman, Pomsky, the Otterman himself, saying that either they got blasted or hit by the giants, but he's going onto the island. And this seems to delight Bluegrass, who says that she'll go by sea, calling Doll to help her for support. And then we get this really fun panel of Bluegrass using her powers to steer one of the Vegapunk Sea Beast cyborg things. And Doll is saying that the ship from Elbaf is on the northeast coast. And I believe this is Bluegrass saying, like, the strength of giants is top-notch and asking Doll if she's ever fought a giant. And Doll remarks that her superior officer was a giant over 20 years ago, which when I read that panel, I was like feeling very smart. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if she's talking about Saul. And then we move on to the next panel where Bluegrass is like, oh, are you talking about Saul? I was like, okay.
Yeah,
well,
way to cut us down, Bluegrass.
He was indeed a strong one. And we flash over to the giants who are asking where their friends are. And I believe Bonnie is responding, saying that they're on top of a lab. They're on a lab on top of the clouds, and they're up there. And he says on a sky island, which is interesting to hear the giants ask about. But no, it's right over there. And then moving on to the next page, we see an ominous figure approaching, and it is in fact Saturn, who we'll get to in a second. But off in the distance, we see, I think this is Luffy asking, like, we got to get out of here or you won't make it. And Vegapunk is saying, ouch, moving me only speeds the blood loss. And then we get this absolutely awesome, terrifying image of Saturn in his, like, full-on Gyuki form. He's more Gyuki than man at this point. And he's looming over Sanji, kind of blocking Vegapunk and Luffy in between there. And Luffy's saying, don't you remember that we promised you that we'd get you off this island? And Vegapunk knows that he asked for that, but says that he's made up his mind. There is something that he must protect. And he says, I was hoping not to tell Bonnie about her special authority until she was more grown up. They'll be after her life, of course. Please keep her safe. And Sanji kind of coolly saying saying what I was saying. He's less and less human by the minute. And
not Vegapunk, but Saturn. I just want to...
Saturn, yeah. Remarking about Saturn, who we see in the next panel, and his eye is like turning oblong. He's getting those goat eyes. And I guess
his pupils look very dilated. I don't know. Looks like he's got like the zoomies.
Yeah, he looks kind of glassy and like he's almost looking past them at this point.
He's ready to like run around the house and knock things over.
Oh my god, that just was happening to me with
his
a child.
Beard
just ate.
His beard is especially like fluffed up. So
Yeah, this
And
is him
like
full form. He's not even half anymore.
Yeah, he looks literally on fire on the back too, which I hadn't noticed.
That's his aura thing.
No, he has
Maybe
that,
you
and
saw
then
it cucumber.
above that, he has he has like 2 layers of things going on there.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's got
Joey,
kind
there
of
was
his,
2
like,
more
black
panels.
halo of flame, and then the other kind of like Gyuki flame. And then, yes, Sanji's wondering, is he coated with poison or something? Because we see one of his claws poke a tree and then just kind of like disintegrate it, which is really interesting. Like, the fact that Sanji is asking, is that poison? And it's not just saying like, oh no, he's covered with poison, makes me think that it's not poison and that this is maybe some other kind of supernatural power, kind of along the lines of those weird portals that maybe are outside of the devil fruit power realm, but who knows? It's whatever it is, it's creepy and I don't like it.
Wait, I mean,
it doesn't seem.
Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, it just doesn't have the same like way Oda draws poison. So you might be right on that, Joey, because he's clearly suggesting something out. It could be like decay or death.
Yeah, totally.
I was going to ask Joey you're the yokai expert amongst us. If there's a Gyuki related lore that may explain this, but
think so. I think there was something about I don't remember for sure. I think the thing with the Gyukis is there's like a few different kinds, like a few different things that people think about them, but I honestly don't remember anything about them. Like,
Actually, I might have an answer to this.
okay,
Brian?
go.
Because I was looking up Eastern celestial bodies, and Saturn is represented with fire. So, and he's part of the 5, and there's the 5 symbols, and so he might be the fire symbol. So that might not be poison; it might be just burning.
That's interesting.
yeah, I mean it's kind of making that sound too, the sound effect, but like the disintegrating.
I took
tree
that as
look-
more of
tree looks
the.
charred.
I took that as more of the psh of something dissolving in acid. That's what I thought it was.
Maybe it's a
Yeah,
vat of
because it's
acid.
like super hot and it's just burning the tree,
Maybe,
so it looks like it's rapid fire.
It looks like there are maybe stories about them spreading disease. The Gyuki, the yokai that he's based on.
So it could be like decay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Like it's just kind of like killing the tree and the tree's falling apart. But who knows?
Yeah. Steve.
And look out, Luffy, as Saturn just comes storming in, and his limbs are... Saturn's limbs are getting all noodly and just on the attack here, and Luffy's just bouncing around like, whoa! Ooh, hey, ha, ha, ha. And he tells Sanji to get Vegapunk out of here and to ignore him, even if he shouts out in pain. Which clearly looks like that's what Vegapunk is doing. And he does yell here in this panel. He says, "Yow, stop it. Enough, Sanji." And Sanji says, like, "I know, just sit tight." And then, wham! Kizaru gives Sanji some sweet chin music here. And by the time Sanji can react, talk about overkill. Kizaru impales Vegapunk with his like lightsaber. Kizaru's lightsaber, not the lightsaber's on Egghead.
Gets the Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Well, not quite, but close.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You can't survive getting stabbed with a lightsaber. You can survive getting cut in half by a lightsaber, but you can't survive getting stabbed with a
true.
lightsaber.
That's
Oh
true.
man, is he gonna get spider legs?
Yeah, if only Qui-Gon Jinn was cut in half, he would have been fine.
You don't need the lower extremities.
No, you don't. You just need spider legs and gumption.
Those are better. Yeah.
But Vegapunk hits the ground with a thud, and Kizaru is kind of like turning to look at Luffy, I presume, who yells out,
No,
"Apple Man!"
I thought he was looking at Vegapunk like, since it looks like the thing that we've been discussing with Kizaru is that he feels guilt maybe about this.
Yeah.
His shades needed to be darker, and here they are.
And then I think Luffy yells out, again says, just run around the back of the island, Sanji. And Sanji once again picks a Vegapunk. He's like, sorry. And Saturn is like looking like just more and more like this like blob of like fire or something like that.
Like
He
ephemeral.
barely looks like anything there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kizaru begins turning into light, obviously to give chase when
Ed.
Luffy takes control. He says he's grown to tremendous size, and he has grabbed. God, he's grabbed Kizaru like he's Goku in the Vegeta fight, right? He's gonna crush his bones, and he's grabbed even the giant Saturn by the face, the same way kind of that Sabo grabbed Vice Admiral Bastille by the face and crushed his mask at Dressrosa. Just palm and fingers like it's like the Iron Claw basically from wrestling.
I love this panel. This panel's almost too cool.
Look how in Luffy's face in shadow is so sinister, but then he says, "You guys aren't going anywhere." And close up on Saturn's eye, and Vegapunk spitting out blood, and explosions are going on in the back room.
Did you say Vegapunk? Did you Kizaru, or did you say
no?
that?
Kizaru was spitting out blood. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said Vegapunk. Okay, go ahead.
So you get Sanji is running away, or Sanji, I guess they've stopped. He says, "Damn it, hey Vegapunk, snap out of it! You're not dead, are you?" And we hear a beep, and then Sanji says, "Why are you smiling?" Another beep, and a click. Shh. Oh. Hello? Check. Is this on? Hello out there. Come in, world. I am Dr. Vegapunk, a humble genius scientist. While many of you will likely be shocked by what I have to say in this message, I assure you that it is the truth of this world.
Boom, boom. And
Sorry,
I look
Zach.
forward. Oda, you better be finishing that chapter by now. Yeah.
So I would say that a video of Vegapunk has popped up on a screen somewhere.
Yeah, as we zoom out from Egghead, to black. By the way, I feel like he's been using it a little bit more, but when you have a panel that's just all black and just the text, usually a sign of really big things to come or very big possible outcomes. I'd be remiss if I did not note, Ed, the top left panel just feels like straight out of a kaiju movie with Luffy holding, destroying the city, and I love the shit out of that panel. And I'm very much looking forward to next week, Ed, when you will be reading The Truth of the World in that accent. Presumably.
No. We're gonna go find out what happened to Sabo.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Wait, we did already, didn't we?
No,
there's some other mystery.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thoughts on the chapter, Bryan? I'm going to start with you.
I'm really happy with this chapter. Like, not only the giants coming to the rescue, but I think the thing that made me the most happy with this chapter is to finally get all the names of these weird admirals, vice admirals.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of loons. I love my loon. I love my ugly loons.
I hate to interrupt so quick, but they're a lot of them are dogs, right? Like, Joey, do you want to? I think you wanted to talk about that, right?
I didn't pick up on that. You're right.
Yeah, Stephen was talking about it. Obviously Hound and Doberman, and then we know Dalmatian, who's not here, is one.
And
Pomsky.
Tosa
and
too, I
Pomsky,
think.
yeah, is a Pomeranian Husky mix.
I've
Very
heard of
cute.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, and Tosa, I believe, is one as well. And I've been seeing on our Discord, some of the listeners were talking about how apparently there's another reading of Doll that might be more like Dole, which is a kind of dog, which is interesting too.
She does have a collar.
And she has a spiked collar, like a dog. So it's a thing that's like frustrating, I'm sure, especially for Steven, where not all of the vice admirals are dogs, just some of them are dogs, and so
because what's a
that.
guillotine? Is that a dog?
No.
Well, guillotine has that kind of knife in his head, which you can't really see in this chapter, but in the one where he's introduced. And that may be actually more kaiju related, because Ultra 7 is the second Ultraman, and he has like a knife sticking out of his head, and so very, very classic, like Chi-Chi throwing the knife from her head and stuff comes from Ultra 7.
Right. And Red King is from which one again?
Oh yeah, Red King.
Yeah, and Red King is a very classic reoccurring Ultraman kaiju. Real.
God,
like,
stick with a
shit-wheel
theme
villain type.
here. Oda.
Yeah, so there's like
you're
some
all over the
kaiju
place.
ones. If Guillotine is really Ultra 7 related or not, but like, but yeah, there's it's frustrating that some of them are dogs, but not all of them are dogs.
It's like half. It's like if half the Saiyans were named after vegetables and the other half were named after cars.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
That's it.
And one of them was named Bluegrass.
Oh no, it's Pontiac.
But then also he's playing with the fact that he often names his female Marines after birds.
Birds, right?
So,
What kind of dog is a Mamunga?
The
a
happiness
Q-kind. The best
dog in
boy
town.
in the world. Yeah, there you go. Brian,
and then,
sorry.
yeah, and then there's Urban.
Joey, yeah. Go ahead.
go for it.
Urban dog? I don't know.
Urbane, maybe.
Do that.
Named after Carl Urban.
or Keith
Yeah.
Urban.
It could,
Yeah.
honestly, that fits with Bluegrass and more so than
Yeah, because that's like musical. That's a
Yeah.
musical style.
yeah.
Bluegrass had I don't remember specifically, but had a different explanation behind it, if I recall. But you have to go back and listen to that episode because I don't remember what we said. But I think it was something beyond the music thing.
Maybe it was the bird thing. Like what Brian
I don't
was saying.
remember. You might be right. I don't remember. Brian.
Another thing I really appreciate in this episode chapter is the continuing evolution among Saint Garcia Saturn. Is that he's becoming more monstrous, and Oda's still keeping him very much unexplained. Because one thing about this series that once you get all the information, the character's basically done. So he still hasn't revealed his devil fruit. He still hasn't, like, even Sanji's questioning, like, was that poison, or I don't know what that is. So it's like there's still mystery to uncover about this character who feels like they might be done in this arc. Like, now that Katrina Devon has, like, apparently has the ability to copy him. Mm-hmm. There's implications that, like, Luffy might take down both Kizaru and the Five Elder within this arc, and not knowing still what this creature is kind of fascinating. But I'm also very excited next week for when we find out whatever Vegapunk's going to tell them, which I assume it's going to be the continuation of what Dr. Clover was going to say before he was shot by CP9.
It better be. And he better finish that sentence.
Yeah.
What's the name of the kingdom?
Tell us the name. Everyone around the world is like, I don't care about the truth. Just tell us the name of the ancient kingdom.
When are we going to get to the Lost Kingdom factory?
Anything else, Brian, or that's it?
No, it's a great chapter. Thumbs up all around, 100%. Yeah, One Piece is great.
Joey, controversial take, Brian. Joey.
One Piece bad. Okay. Yeah, no, I like this chapter a lot. I thought it was really fun. I think it didn't quite leave me as on a high as the last few chapters, but obviously exciting stuff is ahead. The thing that, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this chapter specifically is when I pointed out that panel with the giants I like so much, is I just can't wait to go to Elbaf, because the giant characters are so fun. They're just so these giant laughing guys smashing everything. It's just so fun. I can't wait. And the designs are really good. It's very classic kind of Viking thing mixed with Oda's cartooniness. Makes it really, really fun. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, really quick. I looked up the name of that artist we were referencing. It's Al Hirschfeld.
There we are.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know why I thought an L.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't Liechtenstein. That was way off.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's a country, so, Hirschfeld, too.
No, Roy. Roy.
Samsonite.
Roy. Sorry, Joey.
Yeah, and in general, I've been really loving all the Kizaru business in the last in this arc. He's been a kind of personal favorite of the admirals of mine, but it honestly didn't have a whole lot to do with like his personality or place in the story. He just like is a fun character with a fun reference and all that stuff. But like we're getting a lot more development for him than I was ever expecting we were going to. And I just really love kind of stories about like someone being placed in a really hard position and doing something against their better interests or against what they want to do, like being torn between duty and feelings and all that stuff. That's what all those like Yakuza movies are about, basically. And so it's really cool to see these kind of like heart-wrenching scenes of like him being terrible, where you're frustrated with him, where he's like hurting his these people that are important to him, but then also seeing how it's affecting him, and not necessarily being like, "Ah, poor baby," but just kind of being like, I don't know. It's an interesting dramatic tension.
Having just watched the first battles between Honor and Humanity movie, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Oda cast it well, and he always wanted this character to end up here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I just love like all the art for him as well. I love his character design, and I love the kind of effects that Oda uses to show his powers and stuff. So it just as a general note for this arc, I've been loving the Kizaru stuff, and it's good here. It feels like he's in a pretty bad spot with being snatched up by Luffy in that crazy panel. I don't entirely love Luffy's face in that panel. It's so weird, but I do kind of like, he's done this trick a few times where you think that Luffy's maybe like losing himself to some sort of darkness, but then he gives you that big smile and you're like, nah, there he is. He's great. And he's enjoying being a pirate just as always. And I love the all the stuff with Saturn, the kind of transformation that he's making to where he's becoming creepier and creepier. Like, again, that's making me really excited to eventually get to the other elders and see what kind of like horrifying powers and vibes they're going to give off. And that's it for me.
Steve.
I feel like last week that was my chapter. This was still good. I just think this was I think I've heard Greg use this phrase recently, and I think even I've like said this, like putting the characters into position for the next big thing. Because like the fallout with Caribou wasn't anything too big. We already know he knows about the ancient weapons, so you know there wasn't really. I didn't feel like there was too much development here with that.
And it made sense that like Blackbeard was going to learn about that stuff eventually. You kind of had to for him to be involved in the very end of the story. So.
Yeah, I always felt like this has been the payoff that we got at the end of Fishman Island around like chapter 650 when he did overhear like Robin and Neptune's discussion. So this is like 400 chapters
I feel
of
like
payoff.
this is
right
payoff
now,
for him getting a cover story. You know?
No, not the cover story. I'm just saying,
know.
like, the fact that he discovered that information was always like a huge kind of like, oh, that's bad news. And clearly we know who most benefits in the story to receive that information was always going to be Blackbeard.
Yeah.
But like Dorian Broggie, it was great, but feels very like, even like the first panel with him in this chapter feels very similar to when they showed up at the end of a previous chapter. Feels like the drawings are similar. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Or maybe they just make the same face. I realize looking at this panel now, it's like the first two panels, Dorian Broggie, they're just, like Dory's got that big smile on his face. So
I think it's sort of indicative of older One Piece designs, though, too, right? Like, it's sort of like these are characters that we sort of plucked from a bygone era of One Piece designs. So when you put them here amongst, the characters from like the past like 2 years or so, it is a little the dissonance is palpable.
Possibly. Other than that, I don't know, like, God, it's like 1 second I think I'm like, oh, like the Stella Vegapunk is gonna die. But then like you have lines like when Sanji's saying like, you're not dead, are you? Feels comical. You know, it almost feels like if he was going to die, I feel like Sanji would say something along the lines of like, "Don't die yet," or something like that, or "You can't die." So like, I don't know what to believe here, but he's going to announce something, and I'm not going to even bother trying to predict what it could be. A lot of people think it's going to be the Ancient Kingdom stuff, which I think it probably is going to be, because that's why the government's after him in the first place, is because he's been looking into that. So unless, I don't know, you know,
the Void Century, generally.
The Void, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, remember we kind of start this arc with the connection to the fall of O'Hara and Vegapunk visiting right after, so it makes sense. He's continuing that.
Not just that, but his connection to the revolutionaries. So we might actually now get like a full-on explanation about Imu, the Five Elders, what they have to do with the world's history, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. I feel like the Five Elders can't be taken down as like a system just yet, because Katarina Devon touching Saturn here probably means like that she could obviously impersonate him, kind of like what we saw with Absalom. So I kind of feel like they need the Five Elders to last a little bit longer, so Saturn could just be like, "Hi, I'm Saturn. Good to see you guys again. Wanna know what I think we should do? Give Blackbeard a country. I think he's swell."
Okay, Mr. Saturn, we just need your first name.
I don't know. So yeah, and we don't have a break next week. So yeah,
No.
hell yeah.
That's
Looking
exciting.
forward to the next chapter.
My
But yeah,
name's Mr. Saturn, and I'm from someplace very far away.
Yes, that'll do.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting about this message is it seems you'd think it would be prompted by his death, but it does not seem like enough emphasis has been put on him dying yet for him to be dead. You know, so I kind of agree with you there, but I am curious what, like, if he triggered this like consciously and was like, okay, I think I'm dying, I better like send out this message now. This like pre-recorded message, or if it is responding to something in his like physiology that is like automated or something.
Anything else, Steve?
no, that'll be all.
Alex.
Yeah, as far as, in between chapters, getting from point A to point B, this was one of the more fun ones. And I think it's, due in part to little details like the admirals. And, it was so funny that last week we were all speculating on their names, and lo and behold, we get them. And the giants, which, we've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. I'm just really excited about all that. The designs are really, like, you can tell when Oda likes drawing something, just by how they're designed. Elbaf is one of these islands that's been, as far as seeds being planted, as early as when we first heard about Fishman Island, that era of One Piece. So I think, like, much like Wano, I think that Oda's had many different designs in his mind already for what he wants these characters to look like, and I'm really excited to see them do more stuff. The implications of what Vegapunk is going to be saying are interesting, especially if they are like the truth of the Void Century, and who is actually ruling the world. Because, like I said, given his connection to the revolutionaries, that could spur a whole lot of coups all around the world. Even
the
more
throne
so.
is supposed to be empty. It's supposed to be the empty throne. But there's a person sitting on it. But.
So I think that could also mean, in addition to more, revolutionary wars happening across the world, more people, as opposed to this might usher in a new era of people not trying to claim the One Piece, but claiming the throne of the world, whatever that means. really, like, what does it mean when you sit on a chair? You know, like, if somebody goes up there and sits on the chair, will Emu like, oh no, my powers are draining. You've my weakness, a cushion. Like, you know, I think that, you know, who knows? Who knows until next, 2 weeks from now, or is it next week?
Next week.
No, it's next week.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. So I don't know. I think this was referred to as the Egghead incident, right? Like this big game changer. Yeah. This is probably it, right?
Yeah.
That, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Luffy uppercut a giant spider, bull, demon, halfway across the island. Also, I think it's really funny in that last panel with, you know, giant Luffy. You can see how tiny his straw hat is.
I was going to mention that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I like that little detail.
Well, he's going to need a bigger hat then.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, he
god.
will.
Yeah, that's fair, and the one exists.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jaws, we're going to need a bigger hat.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this chapter. And bring on the next one.
You know what I love about the Giants designs that you kind of made me think of, because I was looking at these guys, is they're kind of like detail killers. They're like these big blobby characters that take up so much space that they like are automatically making a lot of more kind of like negative space.
Yeah.
That's kind of cutting away from all of these little tiny details of the forests and the little characters in the cities and everything behind them. You get these very like pleasing, like kind of old school Oda character designs that are kind of cutting through the kind of more cramped, Oda, more modern Oda style a little bit.
Like you can just tell from even the newer ones, but definitely even Dory and Brogy, it's like they don't take a lot of line mileage to execute their designs and get across. And I think that's what Alex was pointing out. Is like they just seem more fun that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives your eyes a break.
Yeah, Oda's style has been getting progressively more detailed and more detailed since he's had these, I guess he keeps getting more assistants and the assistants keep getting more detailed, but I think that this is such a nice change of pace. And seeing the Giants, I don't know if it's, Joey, what you mentioned of creating the new negative space, or if they're just sort of reminiscent of like a bygone era, or if this is just like, this is closer to the comic that Oda originally wanted to make. It just feels more like old school One Piece.
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's also because we know Vicky the Viking being a huge inspiration. That has a very pre-elementary design aspect to it, and he's conjuring that for how he envisions like the Elbaf Giants. Like one of my other favorite like giant crews is fucking Haradran's crew of the new giant pirates. Yeah, all 5 of them are like fantastic designs.
Yeah, and this guy that's like holding Frankie and Kuma has a very Vicky the Viking kind of.
Oh my god!
With those like scales, in his shirt.
Scandinavian Viking. Yeah, it's great. Ed, your thoughts?
Sure. This is a very exciting chapter. As far as like what people have been saying, it gets people into position, I think, for the next one, especially with what's going on with the vice admirals with Bluegrass. Like that's just setting up the next sort of confrontation for how to escape the island, the actual escape of the island at the end. But I love the way the Giants appear. They bring a sort of happiness, and we've hardly ever seen the Giants get angry, except for when they do, it's very, very terrifying. So, like,
Mr. 3, like the
Mr. 3.
whole helplessness,
Mr. 3, and then also Aimon and Kashi and Annie Sloppy.
Yeah,
but, I love to see them. I love the idea of like it kind of made it inevitable that we were going to go to Elbaf if anyone was ever doubting it. Once all the information from O'Hara was revealed to have gone there, it kind of made it inevitable, I think, and because that's the repository of the history of the world, the real history, and that's what the world government is trying to eliminate. So if the world government knows that that's where Joy Boy is heading after this, and that all this other, I mean, maybe they don't know everything else that's going on in Elbaf, that Saul is there and all the knowledge is there, but if they know that Luffy is going to go there, maybe they're going to try and engineer some sort of confrontation. The world government is trying to engineer a confrontation, try and siege Elbaf or something like that, and to try and put a stop to this now that they know how desperate the situation is. But also that brings in what could happen possibly with Katarina Devon now that we think that she could be able to masquerade herself as Saturn. And we just say I do love also the way Saturn is turning more and more demonic and more deranged. His thought process. He seemed previously to be a very thoughtful, sinister, villain who makes plans and, has thought things through. But he seems to be becoming more, he's not even talking anymore. He's done talking. He's turned into a demon, and he's sort of going to go on a rampage, basically. So it's he seems to be losing. Well, he never considered himself a human in the first place. He considers himself to be a god. So he's losing whatever artifice he had of being a human. Like the original.
It's funny. He is the first to call everybody else an insect.
Right. He's turning into this giant scuttling beetle demon thing, Ushioni, and so he's. I don't know. He seems to he can't even use his words anymore. He's hardly saying anything, and that's it is ironic, but he can do so much. Like his eyes are so expressive with what you guys were talking about before, just the way he cuts through. He's the most interesting character to me. I say this probably every week, but I just want to see what he's doing at all times because he brings this specter of doom with him. But now Luffy's as big as him, and he's grabbed him by the face, and he's gonna wreck him around a little bit. So we'll see if he can actually even do anything about that. But I just love the Vegapunk he's basically doing like a dead drop. I mean, we don't know if he's actually dead, but he's triggered something to send a broadcast out. Maybe he's invented like mass communications here. He can send it to every island, or who knows where exactly it's going. But he is a genius scientist. He should be able to broadcast to the entire world if he wanted to. Yeah,
humble genius scientist.
Humble genius. Yeah. Humble
Which I forgot was the catchphrase that they all
aspirin.
use to introduce themselves. Yeah. Ed, anything else?
Just a humble motherfucker with a big ass brain.
Wish we could name the episode that. Anything else, Ed?
Oh, my brain,
Nope.
It's not that big.
There's a lot. First of all, I think the first half of this chapter fits everyone's description, like up to page 8 or even 7. Fits the description of let's put the pieces in place. But I think the second half of the chapter, particularly the stuff with the giants, and all the stuff with Saturn and Luffy and Kizaru and Vegapunk is just extraordinarily very compelling and very consequential, I think, to what's going to come. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous to talk about Vegapunk being blasted through with a lightsaber through the chest as being kind of putting pieces into place. I mean, I suppose everything is doing that because it's a story and they're trying to move things to the next thing. But I thought the art in this chapter was super awesome. I love, as I think that was mentioned, the Gear 5 like almost looks like this is going to be the badass Luffy moment, and then it like that all the fandom of that doesn't really get the series completely. Now Luffy's going to kick ass. There's going to be blood spurting everywhere. It's going to be hardcore, and then you see, no, that's just Luffy. I do really like that. I love the kaiju kind of aspect to it. The stuff with Saturn is both, I think, artistically compelling and very curious. I wonder what is leading him down the road to this more rabid form of his devil fruit or his being. Oda's really trying to hit you over the head with the fact that this is curious and you should be paying attention to this specifically. Bryan, sorry.
You just gave me a thought I never considered until just now.
That's what I'm here for.
What if this is his real form?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the time, the devil fruits is always human and then transformed into something else. But what if it's backwards for the five elders?
And that would explain potentially their agelessness. But
and their ability to heal.
Yeah, the only thing is then do they all have the human fruit old person, different old person?
They don't have maybe they don't have a devil's fruit.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oda hasn't actually said that their abilities as a result of a devil's fruit yet.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think you know what? To pick up that thought, that reminded me of something Greg said in an SGS. I believe when we were talking about Film Red and not spoilers here, if you have not seen Film Red, the fact that Top Musica is this kind of monster beyond, it's not a devil fruit. It's not like something that we have a real explanation for, unlike everything else in the One Piece world. I wonder if the five elders are of that type, Bryan. So thank you for putting that thought in my head too.
No, thank you, because you're bringing up how interesting how Oda's drawing attention to how different this is, and you're right. It's like we never thought about things going backwards.
No, yeah, yes, Joey. Sorry.
Oh, you just kind of get the impression that he's been doing everything he can to hold himself together when he's a normal kind of well put together man, and then now he's kind of lost his mind a bit because he's been kind of thrown off his game, and so it is possible that this is him kind of letting loose and losing himself a little bit,
Yeah, because I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, but the five elders are also very reminiscent of another very popular anime called Berserk, where they have the five god hands. And they also kind of represent the order of the world and chaos and the emotional implications of humans. And the fact that the five elders are also represented by maintaining a certain order. They're monsters in this world, and they're also monsters in Berserk as well.
I do love that idea. There's a lot of curiosity I have behind that whole thing. I think the idea of the supernatural coming into One Piece, if it's going to, should probably be these five crazy, heads of the government, the big bads. And I wonder if Blackbeard is also in that kind of ilk, because of the bloodline thing, sleeplessness thing, and a lot of the other stuff. I wonder if
speculating that he's the child of rocks or something like that.
That might be possible. Also,
yeah.
I'm not. One doesn't. They said because I think his. Yeah, I'm not. We'll see. I like that. I can't. I don't have enough information. I think someone said something he named Zabak. I think his ship or something was.
Yeah, the Sword of Zabak was his original raft.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
I think having supernatural qualities to Blackbeard doesn't negate the fact that he might be related.
He's already got supernatural abilities.
That's true. Everyone does. But I like the idea of maybe the truth of the world that we find out kind of hits at this, in that there is a lot, Ed, I know your theory, which I am a big subscriber of, the idea, the continent pullers of ores, this world was made.
I've been on that since the beginning of the show.
Yeah. And I think Wano and the stuff with Pluton and Poseidon coming in here is maybe a little wink and a nod to remind you about the creation idea of the world or something like that, or for whatever comes next week. Because as everyone here said, a lot of the reason the caribou stuff at the beginning is super familiar to me, because Oda does that when he's trying to remind the audience of something to keep it in their head. And that is definitely what he's doing there. Now, I thought it was just to remind the viewers who Caribou is, which it might be only that, but it's also possible that he's trying to get the ancient weapons back in your head for whatever reason, for what might come next. Yeah, I don't know if that was a tangent, but that was definitely something I was thinking about. The mythos aside, the stuff with Saturn is amazing artistically as far as I'm concerned. I'm not an artist, but it like the page 12 through 13, that big spread with him attacking Luffy and Luffy doing all the cartoonish responses is an all-timer for me. He is horrifying. I love it.
It's funny that like when you see him in the background, like you get like he's even bigger now. So I think it is doing a really great job portraying that sense of scale with him. But also, he looks a lot like that Gyuki Sumie ink drawing that was like floating floating around. When his power was revealed or whatever. I think Steve, even on like Yokai Wiki or whatever, has like a it's just if you type in Gyuki in Google, it's like the thing that comes up. So it has like a weird the art style. It does change to the degree of like beastly or
it's a lot looser.
Yeah, something like you'd see in a tome, like an old dusty tome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I love.
I spent a lot of time kind of looking at the brushwork on Luffy's hand in that last spread. It's really interesting. He got real loose with that too. There's some like dry brush, and like if you look at his thumb, like the knuckles are in his thumb. It's like going from thin to thick in a really interesting way. So he's playing around with his art a lot in ways that's cool.
Well, I'll say two things. I would definitely want to give a shout out to Steve, who drew the Gyuki version a few months back as a sketch for one of the episode titles for Saturn. And yeah, I think we discussed Joey like a little bit today or on this episode about the fact that when Oda loves drawing something, you could tell. And I think with Gear 5, and he also, we've talked about this a lot, but he needs that emotional feeling that, the character is feeling when he draws. And I feel like his Gear 5 is always very loose and messy. And I think that is an on-purpose thing because he is, I think, encapsulating Luffy in Gear 5, which is loose and messy. Like his pupils, even in the color page on the cover, are like loose and sketchy looking, which I love. And I think that's what he's going for. Like it feels like the page can't contain the craziness. And I do enjoy that. I actually really, really enjoyed this chapter. I don't know if there's anything else. The arachnophobia though is coming out of me. Oh, the last thing I'll mention is what is coming next and what is triggering this is Vegapunk dead. We did talk about how Vegapunk, first of all, he split himself into 6, 9, whatever, an amount of other six. Thank you, Brian. Satellites. In addition to Punk Records, which was very prominently featured, his internet version of him, which is, I'm assuming, what is picking up the signal. Vegapunk, the Stella, is not... First of all, Sanji should have yelled Stella if he indeed was dying. That would have been the time. I thought you were about to do it there, Alex, but I won't make you.
Oh no! Well, I mean, I did. It did occur to me, by the way, that like we haven't talked about what he's protecting and all the knowledge in the world, sure, but the mother flame is something that's been thrown around a lot, and that's part of the reason that Saturn's there, right? So, how in the heck is he gonna protect something if he's dead? Like, but it's like
there's 6 other versions of him, so maybe.
Well,
less than
like
that. 2 now.
Oh, now 2.
I'm assuming Lilith and Atlas and Edison are going to be going to Elbaf. They're
and Lilith. Lilith is on the ship right now.
I'll add also. I'll also add. Back in chapter 1064, I was looking as we were talking. Shaka talking to Dragon as Vegapunk, saying, "I suspect my death is imminent, so I wanted to hear you out, Dragon. So I wanted you to hear me out, Dragon."
Right.
I
that
think,
also had a black panel at the end of that chapter too.
It did. It actually had a gray, like a gradient black. But yes, I think. I mean, it's pretty clear that Vegapunk was expecting. I mean, if Luffy weren't here, this would have been a much quicker Buster Call extermination, whatever you want to call it, on the side of the government, probably. So that said, I'm sure Vegapunk had foreseen that this was possible, and that is probably part of the reason that this message went out. I don't know what was the specific trigger, if the main Vegapunk died and that's what triggered it, or if it was something else, but it seems as much. The smiling is interesting for several reasons. I'm always thinking of the D thing when they die, but we don't see it, so that makes me even more curious. And I wonder what Vegapunk's death actually looks like, since some of his memories are up in the cloud, and he has several other versions of himself walking around. This is certainly not the end of Vegapunk, even if the main one died. That said, I don't think we're going to get the full story here, because that is definitely something Oda is saving for a proper flashback, and I don't think we're going to get that now, but I think we're definitely going to learn a lot more than we've ever heard, and I wonder if it's going to be expositionary or if it's going to be something else. I don't know how it's going to be done, and there's no, as Steve said, there's no way I could predict what's about to happen. But I do think he is transmitting to the world, hence the title of the chapter. I would be surprised if the whole world does not find out about this and it turns everything upside down.
He's gonna say, "Don't you hear me yell? You're putting me to hell."
Stella.
I'm not gonna sell it yet. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on the chapter? If not, move on to the next segment.
Okay.
Right after these messages.
This is the anime recap for episode 1095, The Brain of a Genius, 6 Vegapunks. I'm your host, Sam, and today with me we have our very own Ed.
Yes, it's me. I was waiting with bated breath. I was wondering when you were going to get to me. It's good to be back on the anime recap, making a habit of it. I just watching the anime every week. It's not actually something I've done that much recently. Normally, I watch 2 or 3 episodes at a time. But
I've been getting in the habit of doing the doubles and the triple recaps lately, and I want to get back into the weekly routine.
Indeed, and they're making it easier, as we were talking about last week. With we have an opening and an ending, and a preview, and Chopper and Robin segment. So we're getting about like 18 minutes of episode now, and I think that's a good amount.
Yes, so the episode opens with I don't know if they've introduced the naming schemes for the Seraphim.
Well, we see the number. We see a number on the jar, on like the tube that he came out of. We don't actually have their names, I don't think.
Yeah. So we have the Seraphim version of Jinbei is readying his laser beam and shooting the crew, and everyone's like, "Oh no, we've seen this before." And everyone's kind of preparing to fight. They're talking amongst themselves about how they have to kind of put aside their reservations about fighting an enemy who looks like their crewmate,
or is just a child. Nami has a problem with that.
Yeah, Nami has a problem fighting a child, even if she could get over the Jinbei thing. Mm-hmm. But before she can mentally prepare herself, the baby Jinbei is diving into the ground as if the ground were water. And it looks suspiciously similar to Senior Pink's swim fruit powers, which Frankie recognizes like, oh, hey, that's that guy's ability.
That's my bro.
The anime resists the opportunity to
you're right. Actually,
some Senior Pink flashbacks.
That is surprising
To make sure it's obvious. And there's just kind of like a lot of interesting things going on with the like the presentation and the animation, especially with baby Jinbei's swimming, like the way he like will like emerge and like be like super huge in front of Nami or Robin or whoever at whichever point of the episode we're talking about. And like
I like the way he looks when Sanji kicks him with his fire powers. Mm-hmm. It makes him look all sketchy and kind of gives him like thick outlines. And I don't know, right before he goes flying, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good squash and stretching and just kind of like a round rubberiness to the animation, kind of peppered throughout. So
Robin's
so
attack too.
He goes for Nami. He grabs Nami. And, Nami now being in danger is where the crew starts to get, like, really serious. And as you said, Sanji comes in with his flame kicks. Robin summons a Gigantiflor. And we get a good, long kind of summoning animation of the big, giant Robin. And somebody is watching them from in another room on the security cameras.
Big old plug head.
They're remarking the giant woman. This is an interesting development for whoever's spying on us right now. Mm-hmm. And another Seraphim is waking up. I think this is supposed to be Mihawk's one again. And just kind of like hanging out in that surveillance room, perking up, ready to snap into action in a later episode, I'm sure. Robin's like the full name of her attack is like Sea Serpent Snap Dragon Spank. And she spanks the Jinbei.
Well, she tries to at least.
She tries to. Jinbei goes into the water and is kind of doing the same thing, like swimming towards Robin and like popping up with readying up a big punch. And Usopp intercepts with a skull bomb grass.
I love the way that they shoots that. The way it flies through the air is, I don't know. They kind of over animated it. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yes, and Frankie's readying up a radical beam, and the surveyors on watching the screens are like, "Oh, hey, hold on." They're having the moment that the Straw Hats were having at the beginning of the episode of, "Hey, I know what a laser beam is. I know laser beam means Kiza really means Vegapunk. It means
it stole my bit.
It means Kuma." And yes, so the plug head, as you mentioned, is Vegapunk Edison, the Thinker. And Edison is startled when Lilith walks up behind and starts yelling at the screen. I think she calls Nami what should we call it?
A tramp.
A tramp. She calls Nami a tramp.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Edison has an idea. He's like, "Oh, I've got an idea for an amazing invention," and Lilith is immediately offering her services. Like, "Oh, hey, leave it to me. Let me build it." And then Edison's like, "Great idea, Pythagoras, build it." And this is how we are introduced to Vegapunk Pythagoras, who's another like robot. He's the Wisdom. He's another like a larger robot themed Vegapunk. He's like operating the computers.
Yeah, and they all have their own custom like animated title cards for them as well. It's great.
Yes, they have this like kind of a
rainbowy
rainbow thing. Yeah,
but yeah, like I think Pythagoras is like fell down from the top of the screen, and like I think Edison's were like spinning in, and they all sort of animated differently, but they all have the kind of the same color scheme. And it looks pretty cool.
And this brings us to the eye catch of the episode, and we come back, and it's Pythagoras geeking out as S-Shark is adapting to the fight. He's getting better at dealing with the Straw Hats, the Jinbei Seraphim. And it's like, yes, our science is paying off. Like, like he's machine learning, I guess.
When Jinbei throws Sanji, the way they animate him, the way they animate Sanji like flying through the air and like hitting the wall, it's cool. I love that.
Elsewhere on the island is Vegapunk York the Greed, and this is just like a frickly, kind of a Nami looking like. She's got like a very distinctive like just like a big like soft melty like face cheek.
Yeah, her face kind of looks like a bean,
Yeah, she's
like
got
the
the
strong
bean
bad
face.
Yeah,
she's got the Steven Universe Cal Arts bean face
with freckles too. Yeah,
and we have
I love how her title card
eating.
Her title card like yawns, like it stretches and yawns, like her name thing. It's animated like it stretches and yawns. It's great.
Yes, and we have a scene of her. I guess she's just eating, and like all the little like helpers and like little robots that the Vegapunks have made are just like shoveling food at her and letting her eat and eat and eat. She's like getting like Luffy fat, and so suddenly it seems like all of the Vegapunks like are having tummy aches. They all need to go to the bathroom at once. They're all in the middle of, they all have to stop in the middle of what they're doing, including like Atlas, who's fighting the fake dragon. They all got the runs. They're all like, oh no. But I guess it's all completely up to York to actually relieve them of this feeling. So we have a scene of York like leaving the bathroom. Now
I also want to mention, throughout all of this, Edison is continuing to write things and throw papers into the air, and the little assistant cat is hopping around in the background to collect them, like 3 or 4 different times. And I think we determined, or we learned earlier, and maybe it was only in the manga, but his name is Joshu. He's Joshu the cat. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. SBS or something.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I appreciated that. Like Pythagoras's head like pops off, and it's like the head is by itself, like a little robot dude.
Oh yeah, because you could see earlier there were it had another like set of hands coming out of the neck area, like he was using it to look at data.
Yeah, so like when his head like pops off, and it's got like a little set of arms and legs, and then he like kind of nests back into the main body. But yeah, so York takes her dump and is skinny again, and all the Vegapunks are relieved, and Atlas gets to finish her fight with the dragon with a digestion punch. And that is they tell us that is York's 4th KDN Kudas Neru, eat, poop, sleep of the day. So this is her. This is a process that they go through multiple times a day, I guess.
This is like the it's like all those people who were getting into Soylent a couple of years ago. It's like, I just take all the thinking out of my eating. Why don't someone else do my eating for me?
Yeah, I guess. But
I don't know. I feel like some tech bros would actually do it.
Share the tummy aches. You still have to share the. So the fight with Jinbei is interrupted by Shaka's arrival, the Daft Punk Vegapunk, the good, and the door opens. He steps in. All of the Straw Hats' moon shoes like magnetized to the ground and are now like sliding them around the floor into like perfect formation, looking like they're about to just be rounded up for the Jinbei Seraphim to get a easy victory on. But Shaka is telling the other Vegas to stand down. Like, don't worry, I got this. I'm here to talk to them. We're chill.
Well, Lilith isn't chill. Lilith is very not chill with this.
Yeah, like Shaka's seemingly the leader, I suppose, but Lilith is the first to challenge his authority.
Well, she is evil after all.
Yeah, it's the good and the evil, and but yeah, elsewhere. Oh, Usopp's like, when they're learning that this is a Vegapunk as well, Mr. Daft Punk. Usopp's like, well, you're a Vegapunk, and that Lilith girl's a Vegapunk. You know what? Maybe I'm a Vegapunk. Let's just roll with that. And Frankie's like offended by that. Like, don't say that.
Well, he would know better than anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Elsewhere with Luffy's side of the crew, Luffy and Chopper are like digging through the trash and wondering if there's anything good to find. But Bonnie is kind of incredulous that they will find anything. She's just like, oh, that stupid Vegapunk, he just makes crap. So back in the lab, Frankie's like trying to plead with Shaka, like, oh, like, let's, I respect you and all that, and he's got like hearts and stuff. And Shaka is kind of expositing how this is an island. Ironically, this is an island from long in the past.
Yeah, there's one thing that even I can't explain, or something like that.
Something that he can't even explain. Something there's something. All this futuristic technology is built on top of something from 900 years ago, which is obviously we know that's a significant number. And
an advanced kingdom, yeah.
This is cross cut with Luffy and Chopper. They rummage their way into it's like a not quite a shipyard. It's like a robot yard. It's like a big giant kaiju robot that looks old, but also like how could they have had robots 900 years ago? The
Good question.
mathing.
Yeah.
And the episode ends with Luffy and Chopper just kind of like, and Jinbei and Bonnie as well, just kind of like standing in astonishment of this giant deactivated robot corpse thing. And Luffy and Chopper are like running up its side to, ride it.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the to be continued card. General thoughts on this episode, Ed?
This is a really good episode. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a great episode, but like it's got all it does really good with introducing all of the Vegapunks. I like the way that they sort of get to showcase all of them in this. Even Atlas gets a little bit in there, and it really captures the wonder of Egghead. We're still in that exploratory early part of the arc, so we're getting all these unanswered questions and hints at things, but it just gives off the vibe that Egghead is really cool. And then leaving it off with that cliffhanger like that is also just adding to the wonder and the mystery of the island. And I think the anime has done a really good job of capturing that so far. And this one was a positive all around, even if like not necessarily anything big really happened up until the end, but like everything was really well executed. I like the animation and with the fight with the Seraphim, but I don't really have anything negative to say about this episode.
Yeah, with like how low stakes of a scenario the fake Jinbei is. Like, last week I was like, I was a little annoyed. Like, okay, I kind of don't want to go through a whole episode of just fighting this fake Jinbei. But for what it's worth, it's a pretty fun, pretty snazzy looking fight.
Yeah. Well, I guess because the fake Jinbei isn't really the focal point. It's all about introducing the Vegapunks.
Yes. And I just kind of spent the episode just sort of marveling at how kind of bizarre the approach to the Vegapunks is. Like they're such a like a random, like there isn't like a unifying theme between them necessarily. They're just kind of like another like batch of characters that Oda wanted to design and draw and have interact, and like, okay, they're all sort of one character, but also sort of their own independent characters. And that's kind of an interesting place to arrive to after hundreds and hundreds of episodes of wondering who Vegapunk is. And yeah, the mystery, the twist at the end of we're touching into ancient kingdom territory. We're trying to fit these pieces together of like, okay, well, look, what was this kingdom? Like, what kind of technology that even Vegapunk can't seem to nail down or recreate himself? Are we about to, like what are we stepping in here?
Yeah,
it's a good mystery. It's a good twist.
Yep, that's all. That's all
else?
I got. No, yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say before we move on to the next segment, Ed?
No, that's all I had. Yeah, this was a fun one.
All right. Well, thank you, Ed, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories, and if we answer them correctly, we too become a Jaguar D Scholar. Very excited for that. Ed, what's our, I think, first, we have two segments, I think, this week. Ed, what's the first one?
First one, as always, Zach, is This Piece.
And Alex is going to take us through it. So, Alex, what do we have this week?
Guernica Truther Slay says, "Hello from the other side, OPP. Sorry for the disc piece confusion last week. With the task force question, I meant, like, what if Kizaru had a task force? Like, what would he name it? Or if Cat Viper had one. But any who's who, I bought my Yowie paddle with my law bat because it's simply cheaper to buy them in one in this economy. Frugalness is next to cleanliness, after all. Now to my question. Do you think that if Frankie had the internet, he would ever get any existential angst whenever he fails the Am I a Robot captcha puzzle?"
I have to read this one.
Yeah. Frankie never went to college
barely
because he couldn't pass the
understood
Turing test.
He'd have a little hand come out of his big hand and try to hit the button. And he'd be like, well, okay, there's the corner of that bicycle is in this one, but barely in that one. Do I click that one or do I not click
Your
that
hands are too fat.
No, you guys are missing the point. Of course he wouldn't have had any existential dread. He would always answer, "I am a robot."
Yeah.
That's true. He would.
Yeah.
He would. He knows what he is. But his intelligence isn't artificial, and that's what's important. What's next,
True.
Alex?
Reverse I Pomsky says, "Hey, Otter Pops is Pomsky. Saturn has gone full goblin mode, looking like my cat when she has zoomies and power scalers have been satisfied by the fact that Sanji's love for keeping Vegapunk from dying was not, in fact, stronger than light. Oh, wow, and we got some name reveals. Speaking of learning names, what hilarious thing or inopportune interruption will cut off Vegapunk's broadcast that the name of the ancient kingdom is, this disc piece has been cut because Zach is still mad at me for bringing up Wapol a few weeks ago. Blame him for me not finishing this."
What if Wapol is the name of the ancient kingdom?
Well, then Wapol's going to be pretty
going to
excited.
accidentally smash the computer.
I mean, maybe he ate the ancient kingdom.
Oh my God, no! That's why we have the device of the Sunny not being able to slow down. It's gonna destroy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's gonna cut it off.
I wonder if this person was also thinking of Wanze, because that is what got me angry. I don't know if I got angry over Wapol, but
Yeah, you're not
yeah. Thank you, Bryan,
different.
for doing that to me.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
Same voice actor, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the question: do you think the next page, so that first page that comes out, do you think we're actually going to get the continuation of this panel, or do you think we're going to cut to something completely different, or just something inane?
Like the first page of the
Yeah,
next chapter.
at least the first page or two.
I bet
I
we're
think
gonna.
so. A thing I've noticed since the website puts out the first page preview like a few days early is that whatever that first page is doesn't reflect the content of the chapter.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I bet it will not be Vegapunk speaking, which means that we will get Vegapunk giving us some explanations. That's my optimist side.
Alex, go ahead.
I'm of the opinion that we're probably going to see like lookers on who are like, "Hey, who's that
Yeah.
talking?" like throughout the
Yeah.
world, and then we'll see like I don't know, Kraus Guild watching it and the revolutionaries watching it, and then we won't get any actual information until the very end of the chapter.
Yep. That's what I think is going to happen next week. If I had to predict something, that's what I'd predict. I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, that makes sense because Oda likes his round numbers, and if we don't get it next chapter and get the following, that will be 11-10.
No, 11-11
So
11-11 is the one we really need something cool, because that's a number.
Fair.
That's
that
Zoro's chapter.
Yeah,
I
that's gonna
know.
be that has to be a Zoro chapter, yeah.
But Zoro's just fighting Lucci. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. Not the height of interest, because, like, we've already beaten Lucci. Who cares?
Yeah, and he sucks. He's annoying. He knows he sucks. Alex.
SNP says, "Hey OPP, what do you think about the great era of science?" Narrator, : Vegapunk, the smartest man in the world, has achieved it all. Wealth, fame, and knowledge had all been his. Not surprisingly, the final words he spoke after his death inspired scientists throughout the world to surf the internet. My research, why, it's right where I left it. It's yours if you can find it. But you'll have to search the whole internet. The world is about to witness a great era of science. And that was their entry.
Are we ever going to experience a great era of science? It seems like half of this
Not
country
anymore.
tends to deny
Yeah.
half of its findings. So.
But don't you know that obviously embryos are a human being, so when they get spilled in a lab, that's clearly the same as murder.
Hey,
I think-
guess
I-
what?
I
Brian,
think
you're
the
getting all
ancient kingdom-
political again.
I think the ancient kingdom was invented by Dr. Fauci to trick all of us to stay
Oh
home.
my god.
Oh my god.
Hey everybody, Jim Brewer has entered the chat.
Remember Goat
get-
Boy? No.
Get vaccinated, folks. You know, measles
Making
shouldn't
copies,
exist.
Making COVID.
No, making copies is Rob Schneider.
Who's also a shithead.
I know, but he's an anti-vaxxer
Yes.
too.
Did not know that.
Good.
There's a lot of them.
Because no one knows anything about Rob Schneider anymore.
That's a good
He
point.
was he was Deuce Bigelow, male jiggle,
He was a stapler.
and he was a stapler and a
He
carrot.
was a stapler and a carrot, yeah.
and a
PG-13.
derpy Tom. Rated PG-13. 39 NLs on the moon says, salutations OPP. That's one hell of a dead man's switch for Vegapunk to set up. Do y'all think that this is Vegapunk's consciousness on the computer or a pre-recorded message? Either way, I think this backup plan gives some solid characterization to Vegapunk in terms of how much he was willing to sacrifice and how much he understood the risks.
Seems like it's a recording based on him like testing the microphone at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
That
makes
sounds
sense.
very
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
And I also don't. I mean, we've pretty well understood what Vegapunk knew the stakes, even like during Kuma's flashback. So it's not out there. This doesn't shock me at all. The fact he had this backup ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is interesting. Like, do you think this is his consciousness in Punk Records doing this live, or is this something he pre-recorded for this moment? I lean toward the latter for all the reasons said, but I can't rule out the former. Yeah.
Plus the fact that he has the whole like check. He's like testing it. That suggests that it's a pre-recorded thing, not just like
unless he's a ghost for the first time and he's trying to figure out how that works. Yeah.
His physical body died and entered
The Punk Records.
Punk Records.
Yeah.
His like
Oh.
consciousness entered
Yeah,
Punk
that's what I was
Records.
thinking.
Wow.
Which
so it's a cyberpunk.
To be fair, I would love, and I think is a really let's do more sci-fi in this sci-fi arc. I'm always raring to go.
He's gonna turn all the vice admirals into Tang.
I'll say the anime reminded me of all the sci-fi stuff that was happening at the beginning of this arc, and I do miss seeing that with all the craziness going on. So I think that would be great.
I had Vegapunk's actually behind the Human Instrumentality Project, and instead of Giant Ray in the background, it's just Gear 5 Luffy. Oh God, that's.
We'll save that for
didn't even-
end of Egghead, where I could just
It
put
all
the
comes
giant.
tumbling down.
Yeah,
We can make the poster an episode image.
yeah.
Just giant
Yeah.
Luffy.
End
like
of
that.
Egghead, yeah.
End of Egghead. We're
End
saving
of
that
Egghead,
one.
Galleon, yeah.
That is a good title.
I'm going to write it down now.
I am.
Hey, wouldn't be the first time we're going back to an old idea.
Yep. Hey, Sailor Karna is Universal says, "Hey OPP, I'm wondering if Vegapunk will be alive after the escape, and if he would sue Luffy for not honoring his DNR request. Are there good Samaritan laws in the world government?"
No, I think that's been made very clear. No. There were two things I forgot to mention related to this question. One, I love the fact that Luffy doesn't give a fuck what Vegapunk is like. Hey, don't move me. I'm going to die if you move me. I think it's very funny. Although it does go against the whole Drum Island, be careful with Nami on your back while climbing the mountain. But the second thing I love is that if Vegapunk is dead, his last words are something like, what was it? Whoa, Sanji, don't do that, or something like that. Which I think are funny last words, personally. That's all I had to say.
Okay. Well, here's what Sheepman has to say. Howdy, OPP. Where does Bonnie fit on the hierarchy chart for control over the Kuma lookalike robots? Would she have more authority than the Five Elders over the Kuma Seraphim? And now that Devon has recorded Saturn's face by her touch, perhaps the Blackbeard pirates will end up taking control over the Seraphim in the future. I say future since they could have taken them now since they're on Egghead, but perhaps they simply didn't know they were there.
It depends their intelligence.
Robots, those are the ones that.
Yeah, because Bonnie has.
No,
because
I would say that the Seraphim. Well, no, the Seraphim, right? The warlord.
Yeah, because it was. Yeah, they suggested she has control over the pacifistas, but they didn't say the Seraphim. It would track that she would also control them, but they didn't make that explicit.
It didn't occur to me, actually, until just now that the reason that they were going there, perhaps for an authority chip, is for the Seraphim specifically, since the Seraphim gave them so much trouble on Amazon Lily.
Sure. So they know about their existence. Yeah, that makes sense. They don't have even an Egghead. They wouldn't have all 7 of them. They'd have 4 of them.
I don't know.
Yeah, 4 of them are there currently. The other 3 are not. I think they're at Marine headquarters.
Got it.
Sorry, related to the previous question, just to add to the idea that that Vegapunk may have transferred his consciousness, is the screen that's under his screen does look a lot like the heartbeat monitor. I forgot what they're called, EKG monitor. I feel like I'm really subscribing to that theory now.
And it's going flat.
Yeah, it's flatlining. Yeah. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Look, we'll be proven right or wrong probably within 5 to 7 days or whenever, So I'm just very curious. I like that theory a lot. What's next? Sorry, Alex.
You mean what's last? Wisdom Pythagoras says, "Hey, OPP, there are a few things you should never ask a woman. Her age, her weight, and when it comes to Doll, where she was 22 years ago during the O'Hara incident, because you know damn well she was complicit in genocidal war crimes." Jokes aside, Doll may have been part of the Marine unit that Saul led to capture Nico Olvia. Could Doll have had some sort of relationship with Olvia? Do you think we could see some interaction between Robin and Doll here in this arc?
This brings up something I was wondering from this chapter. Do we know how old Doll is?
Seems like 40, but like late 30s, early 40s.
She's got to be, probably middle-aged.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, if she was a Marine, even I would assume she was like a rookie or very young 20 years ago. 40. She could be at youngest. She could be like 38.
Yeah.
I
think that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's great seeing someone in their mid to late 30s or early 40s in the manga look like Doll does.
I mean,
it's great.
He's done this a ton of times. Like, what's his Shocky?
That's true.
He's like 60. Yeah.
Well, that's what he does, a lot of this extreme aging where it's like someone who's like anciently old, but they look very young.
Wapol is 31 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a term I've been expressed through the Asian community. It's the Asian time capsule. Like black don't crack, and then you got the Asian time capsules. The two things we hold on to.
Alex,
I was going to say, in the case of Wapol, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
He does eat everything.
That does it for this piece.
Thank you, Alex. We got one email from friend of the show. I think it was Ben. Sorry, I'm opening it up now. Friend of the show, Benjamin Wild, who says, "Hey, podcast, given that the end of the series, there will be 3 major powers in the world, the Straw Hat Group, the Blackbeard Group, and the world government. What role do you think the world government will play? Would they side with Luffy? Would they stand apart to take on the winner, Luffy, or have different roles depending on the Marines, some fighting for each side? Keep up the great work." My personal opinion is that, yes, I think Blackbeard is the main rival, but I think the main evil in the series is the world government. I think Blackbeard and Luffy have contrasting views of the future, but that the government is the blockade.
I think those contrasting views of the future are what is that the battle between them is going to be what happens after the government or the structure is destroyed.
That might be what it
happens
is.
first.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying, that the government's going to engineer a confrontation or a showdown at Elbaf, because that's where that's where they keep all the history now, and that's where Joy Boy is going to be. And the world government seems more concerned, or Emu or whoever, the 5 elders, seems more concerned about Joy Boy than anything that the Blackbeards are doing. Like I was talking about last week, they seem profoundly disinterested in what Blackbeard is up to.
But when we say world government and the Marines, the Marines are becoming less and less monolithic.
Yeah.
So it's I could very well see Kobe and a faction of Marines siding with Luffy and helping to take down the world government.
If only there was a name for that faction.
Kind of choosing to, if you look at the past, Garp never turned against his post really against Roger, and then this is kind of the taking that different take where Kobe actually chooses to go with his morals over his obligation or something.
Yeah. I think the thing with Doll I also want to mention, which is somewhat related, I do like the idea that they're all dogs, and they're dogs of the military, dogs of the government. I wonder if that's on purpose.
The chief guy in charge is a dog, red dog.
That's true too.
So it's consistent.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Loyalty to a fault.
Yeah. Wow. That's Sakazuki. I think that's it for Piece Together. So I'm going to say something I don't usually say. We could round off and do a bit of trivia.
Oh.
If you want to stick around. But Joey, you have to stick around.
Hey.
Here I go.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 807 for February 26th, 2024. Thank you all so much for coming on. I do want to at least relay that Rustage, the reason he was not on this week was because he wanted to go to sleep at a reasonable hour, and I completely endorse that idea. I don't no blame to him at all. Any blame to him will be severely reprimanded. Will hopefully come on in the near future. Unfortunately, we record UK time 4 a.m. or some ridiculous hour. I don't know. Also, the next few weeks, we're going to have a lot of cool guests, including Sungwon, Steve's partner in crime, I believe, will be joining us. I have been loving the Ace Attorney playthrough. I don't know if I got a chance to tell you too much about my feelings on that, Steve. Specifically, a specific character that Steve has taken on, I think, is a star among stars. He's my favorite.
Tell me more about what you like about me.
No.
Tell me more.
We also have in March Matt Cohen, Henry Gilbert, Roger, and Kadin Jensen all coming on the show. Look forward to those episodes. But that's about it for me. Joey, where can people find you?
I'm at Joey Weiser on Twitter and Blue Sky, and Joey Weiser Comics on Instagram. And, the Blue Sky and Twitter, I'm talking about all sorts of, like, anime I'm watching and tokusatsu and One Piece and all that good stuff. And Instagram's a bit more art-focused. I'm a cartoonist. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm the author of books like Dragon Racer and Ghost Hog and Mermin. And these are fantasy adventure stories with a lot of humor in them and fun cartoony characters. So check them out. You might like them. And I'm doing a few small events in March. So if I just in case I'm not on the show before then, March 9th, I'm going to be in Matthews, North Carolina at Matthews Comic-Con. I think that's in the Charlotte, North Carolina area.
Is it like a guy named Matthew having a specific?
I'm gonna find out. Just at some guy's house in his backyard.
Yeah,
there's a barbecue.
Nice.
But I think it's gonna be cool. I've never been to this one before, but some artists I know in that area are coming, and I think it's gonna be fun. And then at the end of the month, on March 30th, is Fluke, the big comics and zine festival here in Athens, Georgia, where I live. And so if you live in the Athens or Atlanta area, or anywhere where you can drive to Athens within for a day trip, I definitely recommend Fluke. It's very cool. So look that up. And that's it.
Thank you, Joey. Sorry you're going to have to do trivia soon. I'll make it fun. Bryan, where can people find you?
Me? I'm chill.
Okay.
I'm on Dark King Zoro at Twitter, and I think the same on Blue Sky. You can check out my work on various old episodes of Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go, Rugrats, the new CG one, and the Steve Urkel Save Santa holiday special that came out last November, which you can purchase on Amazon and YouTube. And then Invincible Fight Girl, which is a show I was producing, should be out sometime this year.
I'm excited.
Check that one out. I can announce that now because there's been word. I went to Atio's at SCAT a couple of weeks ago. They were doing a screening of it. I haven't been to Georgia in like 10 years. So I can't say more about that yet, but
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for Bryan's brain to be put into some sort of punk records version of a cartoon. Thank you. My brain knew where I was going there, and I didn't. Thank you.
You stuck that landing.
We'll see. Steve, where can people find you?
SteveYurko.com, all social media at Steve Yurko, the Let's Play channel that Zach mentioned earlier, ProZD Plays Games, over on YouTube, and my other podcast, 4Kids Flashback with Tara Sands. Check us out, 4kidsflashback.com. Social media, pretty easy to find.
The number 4. That's
Correct.
Important. Yes. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me at Dude Exclamation on Twitter and Blue Sky. Weeb Simpsons on Twitter and Blue Sky. And if you live in Maryland, if you're not, I don't see why you would come to this. I'll be doing Super Art Fight at St. Mary's College on March 30th. So if you're not going to be going to Fluke and you live in Maryland, come to this college show. It's going to be fun.
I feel like these are both far enough apart and the right size to not be competing with each other in any way.
I can definitely attest the Super Art Fight. It is a good time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Super Art Fight's awesome.
Please support everything everyone here does. Ed, where can the good people find us?
Well, I'm Edward E. on Blue Sky. You're Zach.OnePiecePodcast on Blue Sky. The podcast can be found at the new and improved OnePiecePodcast.com. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Please support us at Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. You can subscribe on Spotify, on SoundCloud, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
That phone number is 347-497-MAGI. That phone number again, 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, comments, theories, or how the end of Egghead Gillion is going to actually go. So, We haven't done. First of all, we haven't done a lot of trivia recently because we talk a lot, and Joey really got us in line and got us talking for less time, and that means we get to reward him with his favorite segment, trivia. And
What have I done?
We're doing.
I did this to myself.
You did, and you only have yourself to blame. We are doing good old random number trivia, in which I ask 5 questions about a random chapter that comes up on my random number generator. You answer you answer the most questions correct, you win. I'm going to go in the same order we did the chapter. So Ed, you are going to be first. A number from 1 to 1108, and I get 975. I have no idea what this is about. I'm going to find out with you. First off, my first question is always, what arc are we in?
That's Wano.
Yes, you were correct about that. Okay, what cover story are we in?
Oh, it's a good question. Jinbei?
No, I'll throw it if anyone else wants to guess.
Is it Sanji's
It is
family?
gang.
Yes, Brian gets it.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my family.
Oh, my family.
Oh, my family.
I missed that one. That was a fun one.
Oh, my family.
This Ed, this chapter ends with a specific face that has been very much and very appropriately memed. Whose face is it?
Big Mom?
No.
No.
Jump ball again?
Kinemon.
Yeah, Brian, jeez.
There you go, Brian.
Just
I know.
eviscerate.
I know exactly what chapter this is.
Yeah. This chapter also includes attacks from these 3 major characters. Who are they?
These 3 major characters. Attacks from these 3 major characters.
Yes.
Luffy, Law, and Kid?
Correct.
It's either them or the King, Queen, and Jack.
Yeah. Last question. Okay. The last one has to be harder. Okay. This Smile Fruit user, whose name I don't know, but is one of the few that is an insect, makes an appearance in this chapter.
Insect.
Just name the insect.
Okay. Ladybug.
No.
No.
Jump ball.
It's like a moth or
Butterfly. Yeah.
I'll give
nobody
Steve a point
suspects a
too.
butterfly.
Brian and Steve. That's exactly the point. That's the point.
Ladybug was close though. It is a ladybug.
Yeah.
That's true. I'll give points to both Steve and Brian for that one. Brian, your chapter is going to be 462. First question, even before I open it, what arc are we in?
Thriller Bark.
Correct. I think we found Brian's game here. Cover story. What cover story?
NL.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
This chapter features another memed moment. This one, not the most memed moment of Thriller Bark. I'll stop you there. But one specific fight has its standout moment. Who is the fight between? You can name either of the characters or both.
I want to say it's Sanji versus Absalon.
No, and that shouldn't be memed. People should forget that exists.
Well, there's that zombie who's hilarious in that bit.
Perona and Usopp?
Okay.
The fourth wall breaking zombie.
Ed, you got it. Good job.
Oh, what was it?
I
missed
was thinking that was the most memed.
Perona and
Because you
Usopp.
think the
The pushing him back in the
zombie's the
grave
most memed?
is definitely the most memed.
What were you saying, Joey?
Oh, I was thinking that the Perona face was the most memed. Well, Eneru face, but
Yeah.
but
God, chapters used to
Zach-
be so long.
Zach was thinking the pushing the zombie back into the grave was the most memed. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, only because I knew that happens towards the beginning of the arc. I figured it wasn't around there because I knew we were in the battle phase of that arc within in the 460s to like 470s.
So Brian, my next question, perfect segue. There are a lot of fights that happen here besides the Perona and Usopp one. Can you name 3 that either get started or occur in this chapter alone?
Yeah, okay, so I think Zoro versus Ryuma.
Sorry, two. Yeah.
Okay, is Zoro versus Ryuma where Zoro rescues Brook happens here?
Correct.
And then I don't think Sanji gets the Absalon yet. Is it Chopper Robin versus Hogback?
No, you should have gone with the opposite of your instinct. It was Sanji and Absalom.
Okay.
That was 4, right? One last question. Okay. Before Oars uses his Gatling gun on a bunch of zombies, what was he trying to do before he was interrupted?
He was trying to steer the ship.
Correct. Good answer.
Yeah. Classic. And because I'm old, I was just telling a friend, I can always think about where I was in my life based on what One Piece chapters came out. And this was the year I started at Cartoon Network in 2006, 2007.
Wow. That's really crazy. I do love that. That is definitely a thing that exists for me too. I remember where I am when a One Piece chapter came out.
Yeah.
Alex, you're next. You got chapter 665, one away from the Devil's Number. What arc are we in here?
Okay, 665. This is Punk Hazard.
Correct. What cover story are we in?
What cover story is this? Caribou.
No. Jump Ball?
Decks of the World.
Yeah. Jesus, Brian is...
Damn.
500
this
billion,
is his game.
500 yeah. 400 at that.
Yeah. It's not quite 666. This is the next question, Alex. But it does feature a devilish-looking individual on that Decks of the World cover page. Who is it?
A devilish-looking individual.
On the Decks of the World cover page.
Decks of the World, right. Magellan.
Correct. This chapter features the Straw Hats in a slightly different form than usual. What's different about the Straw Hats in this chapter?
They're switched.
Correct.
Laws switched them. Yeah.
So the last question has to be hard. This is going to be a podcast related one. What was the name of the podcast episode? Or at least, if not that, what was the panel referred to and used in this podcast episode? This I remember, Brian. This is a disease. I'm mentally ill is I think the line here that I remember.
I mean, you lived it. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
God. Is this something I should know?
No, but it's a prominent panel in this. You could just say the panel even.
Okay, is it the panel where Law has Chopper on his head like a little hat?
No, but I don't think that's this chapter.
Is this the one where Frankie's doing Chopper? Or he's in Chopper's body?
Oh, yeah. He's got the weird face, and Robin's like, never make that face ever again.
No, that's later. This one's much less impressive.
I can't. I thought it was going to be those two.
No, it's Chopper Sanji says no to drugs. It's when he finds out what was going on with the drugs.
That is not a prominent panel.
What? Yeah.
There.
This this iconic panel
I did
of
not
Chopper
say
Sanji
iconic.
holding up a vial.
You just.
I
It
did
was just a
not say
podcast.
iconic.
Zach's
I
like,
said
all
this
right,
was-
the next
Well,
trivia
you set me
question.
up for failure there, Zach.
It was supposed to be a hard
Zach's
question.
next
I think the
trivia
only
question
thing that we
is.
knew
It was supposed to be a
was
hard. I could have
The only
asked
thing
you.
that we
Okay,
knew about
Alex. Alex, if you get this question right, I'll give you 2 points. What's the name of the
Okay.
drug?
Oh,
Miracle Grow.
what's
I
it
wish.
called? What's the drug that
You're never gonna get
intro-
this
What's
because
the drug
I would never
that
get
that
this.
Joe Rogan was saying was good
Oh.
for COVID? That's a horse tranquilizer.
Alpha Brain?
Yeah.
Intromexin or
Yeah, that
intro-
was the one. Yeah.
ivermectin. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, sure. Does anyone want to guess? This one's like
I
fucking
forgot.
impossible. If you thought my
Is it
other
a bunch
question
of
was-
letters and numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the one that
Do I
sounds like
give Joey
cocaine.
a
I remember
point?
the-
It's the one that's similar to
Joey,
the chemical
yeah.
for
Give your point.
cocaine. Yeah.
It's
give Joey a point.
NHC10. NHC10.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
that was
It's similar
hard,
to the
yeah.
chemical
Yeah.
compound of cocaine. Yeah.
I gave
Cocaine.
Joey a point for that. Joey, you're lucky because your chapter is 1050.
Okay.
I do remember this for a lot of reasons, but what arc are we in?
So the question is, are we out of Wano yet? I'm gonna say we're in Wano.
Correct.
Okay.
This one features an explosive event. What happens in the skies above Wano? Or I'm sorry, what happens in on the ground below Wano? Actually,
Is Luffy punching Kaido into the ground?
I could give you half a point for that because it's the result of that. It's the volcano erupting as a
Oh,
result of
right.
it. What about the cover story? What's the cover story for this one?
This is the emotionless excursion,
Correct.
right? Sanji's
Yes.
family? Yeah.
Now here's a question: Is does this actually feature Germa 66? Does this cover story that
It
features
sounds like
Germa
no.
66? No, it's a. The answer is yes. It actually does.
okay.
Most of it does not. Is the joke I was making?
Okay.
What is that question? 3 or 4? That's 4, right? Last question. What does Otama write on her balloon that she sends in the air in this chapter?
Oh, right. Oh gosh, is this the one where she's crossed it out? Or
I'm
before
nodding
it?
my head.
Okay, so she says, I don't know, like, what does she say? I don't know. I remember there was a message on it, and she crosses it out with something sweeter.
That's correct.
Just like she can eat food again. I don't know. I don't know
All
what
right.
it is.
Any jump ball?
Thank you,
Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you, Daddy.
Oh, that's right.
I'll give Ed and Brian that one. It cross out I want to see Daddy, and it just says Daddy. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. That is it for Joey. Steve, you were last, and you were getting
What's
chapter
the score
100.
with all the bonus questions and stuff?
I'll mention that right now. The score is Ed has 4, Brian has 8,
Damn.
Alex has 3, Joey has 3.5, and Steve has 1, but he hasn't went yet. So
So you're
still
telling me
chance.
there's a chance.
There's a chance. Probably not, but we'll do it anyway.
No, I think Brian's already won.
I think so, but we'll go through these quick. Chapter 115. What arc are we in?
115. That's tricky.
Oh yeah, I guess that is kind of tricky, isn't it?
I think we're in Little Garden.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good job. What cover story are we in?
Whoa. Okay.
That one's tricky.
I like how Steve is like really like the reactions are amazing. I know you can't see them visually, everyone listening, but
Then this one is Django's.
no. Jump ball.
No.
Kobe.
Correct. Was that Brian?
Oh, that was still going.
Yeah, that one's really tricky because it was towards the end of Kobe's journey, and then we jumped into Django.
It was
Django's. We don't get Django's until
it was later.
Drum.
like drum/Alabasta.
Yeah, but it's close. It's like right on the edge.
This is Kobe and Helmeppo's Chronicle of Toil, Volume 27. No Time for Sleep. It's train, and
Oh, I lost.
they're shirtless. Wait. But there are relevant things in this chapter because of where we're going. This chapter ends with a book. What book?
Oh, I don't name the name of the fucking book.
Come
it's
on,
by the guy.
Steve.
It's about the.
Don't you
I
read
know
the
what it
manga?
is.
Don't you read the manga?
Jump ball, jump ball, jump ball.
No, not as frequent as you do when you open it up to get a fucking stupid question. Like, what episode image did
Alex
you use?
knows it, and Brian knows
Yeah,
it.
I know it. Yeah,
I
because
know
I
it, too.
actually appreciate Little Garden, unlike some people on this
Yeah,
podcast.
I love Little Garden. I love Little Garden.
Say
I know
it.
you're
Say
right.
the
Yes.
name of the
You
book.
can't hide from me.
No,
It's
okay,
called
jump ball.
Bragman
Pac-Man.
Okay,
by Thomas Arnold,
Alex gets an extra point.
Wow.
not Tom Arnold. By the way,
Why not? Okay, that was. I'm kidding. There is one. I think only one dinosaur featured in this prominently. I might be wrong, but as far as I could tell, what dinosaur or what kind of dinosaur looking? I don't know. I don't need the exact scientific term. Is it?
The fact that you said dinosaur looking, because it's either the.
No, it is a
the
dinosaur.
It's either the brachiosaur. You said it is a dinosaur.
It's a dinosaur. I just said
DNA.
you don't have to be correct
Okay.
with the
It's
scientific
either the
name of the dinosaur.
brachiosaurus that Vivi and Luffy see, or it's the T-Rex that bites Brogy on the ass.
So which are you going with?
I think it's the T-Rex that bites Brogy on the ass.
No, you were incorrect. It's the other one.
homophone.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Only-
Thank you. I was thinking about when I said
Only
that.
because the Bragman book reveal is when Brogy shows up, but that's
Yeah.
before the T-Rex bites him in the ass in the next chapter.
Yeah. I
God,
think
this
the
is like
cliffhanger
Brian's
was-
game, apparently. I think we have one more question here.
Then you could play with Brian next week.
It's just going to be Brian. It's only going to be Brian.
I don't do well in trivia. This is the one thing I can do.
Yeah, he's really good at this. Okay. What is the big proclamation Nami makes upon finding Little Garden? What's the big milestone here, according to Nami? This is the hardest question, so this is a weird one.
Can you be more specific?
What milestone island is this for them? I'm like trying to think of the most specific question I could ask about this chapter that isn't ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's not so ridiculous. Alternatively, what is the sound effect that Nami and Usopp have while they stay on the boat while everyone else goes out?
These are just nonsense questions. I don't even...
Yeah, they are nonsense questions.
What proclamation? It's a prehistoric island that...
No, before they get there, before they even see the island. Like, just as they happen upon it from a distance.
There's the island.
Kind of. But... Do you want me to jump ball it? Either of those.
Before you do jump ball, repeat it. Repeat the question.
Nami proclaims that they have hit a certain milestone here in their journey when they are approaching Little Garden. What is the milestone? It's not a big one.
Is it the first island that they travel to on the Grand Line on their own without an eternal pose.
You're extremely close. You're extremely close. I'll jump ball it on that if anyone wants to try.
It's not just the second island.
That's it, Brian. Right? That's it.
Okay. Oh.
I thought it was a really stupid thing. Like, why are you proclaiming?
I'll go with Steve. That wasn't super clear.
No.
That's why I gave it. The other choice is for the other one is the sound effect is all alone.
Not a very interesting fact either. You know, it's the second island on the Grand Line, and I'm like, I would figure it's the second island they've been to in this story.
Seriously.
It's a very weird thing to say, I feel like, approaching. Yes!
I'd be ashamed if the story all of a sudden jumped to fucking Thriller Bark.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Sorry about that. The final score, Brian had 11, Alex had 5, Ed had 4, Joey had 3.5, Steve had 2. Brian, clearly I'm not playing this game with you again because it's a little too much even.
Oh, come on. You give me a thumb.
Next week we'll have Sungwon on to tell us all about Ace Attorney and probably also One Piece. And we'll also find out the truth of the world. So that'll be fun. Probably.
No guarantees.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, I just guaranteed it, so it's going to happen, you know? That'll do it for the One Piece podcast. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The truth of the world is
7.
42.
Just cut it off before